This is Performance MCR. This is the fastest growing performance event in the world at the moment. I'm joined here with Ed, our CMO, Alan Pilkington of Athos Commerce. Now sat here with Garbutt from Salesfire, our co-founder, Jack Smith. This is StoreHero. Karl, Ellie McGuigan is Senior Paid Social at Cancer Research. Robyn she's the Partnerships Manager at ProfitMetrics. We're here today at the hottest place in Manchester on the 4th floor of Bridgewater Hall. This is Performance MCR. This is the fastest growing performance event in the world at the moment. A while ago I got introduced, or at least I hassled her until she responded, to Charlie Brennan. So Charlie Brennan set up this event with kind of a space for people to come and learn about performance marketing. There's a heavy dose of e-com, there's other facets of marketing that are able to be spoken about here. It was something that we had to be involved in at Prospa. Obviously, we're one of the fastest growing agencies in the UK. Charlie kindly made us the official media partner. So we've had videographers going around all day. There's been some fantastic talks, which has been brilliant. Like I said, we've found the 4th floor, which is like a greenhouse.
Steaming.
Yeah.
Roasting.
The hottest places I think you can find in Manchester. It's 34 degrees out.
So if we are sweating, I want to apologise already.
As long as, Ollie, you can edit out sweat, right? Yeah. Let's just hope we can do that. I'm joined here with Ed, our CMO. There's going to be a few different people sat in this seat having a bit of a conversation with me today. So people from tech partners to brands, so make sure to tune in and watch the whole episode. Ed, you spoke not long
ago now.
You're still filled with adrenaline?
An hour ago. No, it's worn off now. So yeah, but that post talk adrenaline is real for sure. Mm-hmm. I was sat in that back speakers room. I was super pleased, really happy with it, and I think when it goes well, I think it's good.
The topic was how to diversify your paid media channels in 2026. Why is that so important? What did you go through? Let's hear it all.
E-com is becoming harder and harder, and I think every agency says this. Every e-com brand's feeling it. Brands have to diversify, or they're going to die. But the flip side to that is if you don't diversify properly, you're also going to die. So I wanted to, I guess, give people an insight into how we as Prospa are doing it, because I do think we're, like you said, one of the best agencies in the UK, and I wanted to share the metrics we're using and the kind of formulas we're using to scale brands and diversify brands, and what those two look like. And I think, I said on stage, there's two kind of key pillars of brands that need to diversify, and we call them the plateauer and the decliner, right? And both need very different things. But I think I knew there'd be brands listening, and I thought, what value can we give to them? Because if we're honest, I think there's a lot of talks that can be very top line. I didn't want to just be a top line talk of here's a sheet, here's ROAS, here's how to run paid ads. So I wanted to hit some pain points that I knew people would be feeling, and I think we did that, and I think brands that are in that decline or plateau, I know I've recorded the whole talk, so people can see the whole talk after. I think it would be useful for people to dive into.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't see me. I was at the back, so as not to distract you. But
that Tash would have distracted me, let me tell you. Jesus.
The benefit, at least, of sitting in the back was that I was able to see everybody taking pictures of different slides. Now, there's one slide in particular that I saw the most phones out, and that was talking about the biggest mistakes that people make, or at least the biggest mistakes e-com brands make, and especially brands that come to us through the audit process, we see this. Talk me through each of the mistakes, why they're such a big problem for people.
Yeah, so the three key mistakes is one, diversifying too early. Let's stick to one channel first and do it right. I think brands think, I'll do a bit of TikTok. You hear that, don't you? I'll do a bit of that. I'll do a bit of Pinterest. And it's like, if you haven't got a proper strategy behind it, what is the point? You're going to end up wasting money, feeling disheartened in the actual product and the brand, and also feeling disheartened in whether it's TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest. So I think that's the first mistake we see. Mistake number two is the incrementality part. Mm-hmm. So just diving and jumping and pushing money into one singular avenue, and not actually understanding, is that getting new customers back? So if we link this back to the plateauer, most of the time the plateauer, whether it's TikTok, Meta, Pinterest, PPC, will be claiming conversion, and we'll end up looking and there'll be 3-4 times conversion value across every platform, and then you think, well, actually I'm wasting a significant amount of money there, and that brand goes, why am I not acquiring new customers? Well, that's probably why. The back end of Meta probably is more towards engaged users than brand new users, more towards existing users than engaged and new, and they just fall into this cycle. So that is a big mistake we see. And number three is when brands take their Meta ROAS and then say to an agency, I need that that ROAS across all of the platforms. That probably, if I was to name the three, is the biggest one. And the reason for that is, and I said it in the talk, a brand new customer from TikTok is more important, or a totally different customer than a returning customer from PPC. And you cannot have the same ROAS or CPA or whatever you want to track across both of them, because you're doing a disservice to yourself, and you will end up, if you're the decliner, you will end up carrying on declining. If you're the plateauer, you will just end up spending more and more and more against existing customers and never get out of that cycle. And how many times have we seen it when brands come to us? They've been in that cycle 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and it's like, it's pretty obvious what they need to do.
Yeah, it's almost as detrimental as the sales cycle we find some brands in. I know the high heel retailer, the brand that we worked with not so long ago, kind of in that, but then diversifying too early. I think one brand that we've done it spectacularly well with is Hair Syrup, right? And we've just launched on Snapchat with them, but obviously they've worked kind of full suite with us. Paid search, paid social, and the paid social in a number of different ways, and then retention as well. But Snapchat, why were we ready to do that with them? How have we done that well? And why are we looking at maybe a different ROAS figure for Snapchat?
What we saw for them is that the social first content, they're so good at it, right? Yeah. Again, said it on stage. If you want to learn TikTok strategy or the way to engage people through entertainment on TikTok, look at Hair Syrup.
How many people do it? Because they post 20 times a day?
Yeah, 10, honestly, 10, 12 times a day at least, which is insane, right? And that takes, people think about that is the effort I'm on about. That's the effort I'm on about, right? It's not posting once every week and thinking that's going to make a difference, but 10 to 12 times a day, totally different topics. Whatever's going on in the business, behind the scenes, new products, Lucy and Lucy, events they're going to, it's kind of everywhere. And what we noticed was our CPMs in Meta were just lowering the more activity we saw on TikTok. So it was like, right, okay, where can we get more of that? So, they're posting 12, 20 times a day on TikTok. Can't really do more than that, right? We're at the point now where that's probably the max they can do. And they go viral often and we see a massive spike, that's great. But we can't rely on virality all the time. Yeah. So it's like, where can we diversify that first touch point for customers so that when we do then target that person on Meta, they're warm, they've seen the brand, similar to what we do on TikTok. And that's what I talk about when I say real diversification. That's why we picked Snapchat. Obviously Snapchat offered us an incredible deal because they wanted to give us free.
They're great over there.
Free spend to get Hair Syrup on the platform. And what we are seeing is that first discovery piece on Snapchat is super powerful. And now it's our job to make sure that we are being as competitive as we can in that landscape against TikTok. But again, I guess the story is that every platform can only take you so far, and then you have to then look at, right, where else can I go here? And that was the conversation with Snapchat for sure.
A core theme of the talk, and I think the biggest takeaways that people got a lot of, is that if you don't understand your unit economics, you can't really properly diversify. You don't know how to look at different channels. But there was one part of the talk as well which I really liked, and again resonate with people. I saw them getting their phones out, right, and taking a picture. The percentage of gross margin, right? Talk me through the differences that brands have with the constant change.
No, 100%. And I think that any agency that doesn't understand gross product margin and can't track that, what are we trying to gain here? We're effectively going blind. So that's why obviously using StoreHero we're able to see this. Now what I put up on stage was I think quite a powerful message that and you can obviously attest to that people were taking photos, because I don't think many people understand this side of performance marketing now. And the metrics were that if you have 70% gross margin, and that's all in, right? I'm talking gross margin all in, or gross profit, you only need a 1.43 ROAS to break even, right? 1.43, that's so low, right? Yeah. Whereas if that goes to 55% gross margin, you then need a 2.23, I think it is, or 2.24. I haven't got the exact figure in front of me, but it's a 55% increase in ROAS you need. I'm not slagging people off with rubbish margins, but you're never going to win against somebody that has got great margins, because they can outspend you for that first customer every single time. And the other point I made on stage about IM8 and losing 220 on that first customer, you're effectively giving somebody £220 like to buy your product.
I want to be a customer.
No, I know. Yeah. But the problem with that is that if I'm competing against them and I want to break even on that first purchase, you've just got no chance, right? Absolutely no chance. You can diversify the creative all you want. They're going to have a significant wider reach than you, significantly more touch points than you, because you can't afford it, right? You have to, break even on that first purchase, because that's what people at the top, your finance director, whatever, has told you. So if brands really understood that side, and because it's a conversation I have a lot, they'll come to, we need a 4RAS, we need a 5RAS. What does that mean? What does that really mean? Let's break it down. Actually, can we be significantly more competitive in your industry industry, if we're able to reduce that ROAS, break even, make a small profit on that first purchase, and understand a 3-to-1 LTV to CAC margin is going to get you to outplay most brands in this industry.
I think we mentioned this in the office the other day. We were having a bit of a whiteboard session. We hosted the dinner last week, the fashion e-com dinner, the Prospa fashion e-com dinner. It was great. There's some fantastic conversation in the room. But one thing I find is that the people who really drill down, and this was on a previous episode with 8 Hours, Ollie over there, who was a fantastic guest.
In Amsterdam, a great guest, great guy. And then people should watch that one, because I think that was probably...
But the point is, right, and I think it will resonate with you, is that the people on the subscription side are much more drilled into the unit economics, because they have to understand the LTV, the CAC payback, and the fashion maybe not as much.
They're really not.
And it's maybe a bit more than creative side, which I've found.
100%. No, you're right. And I think you've said this to me, is like when you talk to founders from the creative fashion side, it's more about how the creative looks on Meta more than, right, what margin do we actually need to get here? And they don't care about that. But again, that's our job. We need to educate the brand on that, because we need them on board, because we can't just do this if the brand's not on board, right? But you're right. What we tend to see is the subscription brands, although most of them, it's not all of them, they really understand that, can I lose money on this first purchase, and where do I need to break even? Now that depends on cash flow. You know, Ollie, VC funded, they've got a pot of cash that they can use for that. We've got other brands that are family run that aren't VC funded that actually probably need to break even month 3, can't afford to break even month 7th, 8th, 9th like an IM8, but that's fine. Let's work out the balance between cash flow and between what is the maximum loss we can make on that first customer to be competitive in this industry. If you want to grow and expand quickly, if
which
you
everyone
don't,
does,
but if you don't, that's fine.
You're not a client for us.
You can do something else.
A few notes on the event. Obviously, it's a really exciting. I touched on it at the start. The technical element of your talk has been fantastic for a lot of people here. But a word on the event itself. Obviously, we work closely with Charlie now. She was at one of our dinners last week. But this is the second iteration of the fastest growing performance marketing event in the world. We're going to be the media partner. Hopefully, we've got something to play next year. What have you enjoyed most about the event? What have you thought about it?
Look, I really was. I don't think I was expecting this. I'll be honest with you. You know, second event in Manchester. You know, when you get invited to events and it's like that. Do I have to? And actually, I was really excited about this one. And I think the reason is, one, Charlie, she makes it, right? And actually, you know, she said to me backstage, be yourself. Like, I don't care what comes out of your mouth, whatever it is, be real.
You swore
you know, and exactly, be real. If you need to swear on stage, do it. And I just love that. And I think what it kind of breeds, actually, is people that are going to be honest. And she said it to the panel before they went out. There was an AI panel. And she said to them, like, don't be afraid to actually answer properly. Because she said she's been to so many events where it's the same drivel political answers, and then she was like, please, whatever you do, or you won't be coming back next year, right? You know, you're not going to be on the panel next year. So I think that's great. I think there's some great sponsors here. You know, I'm super proud to be the media partner, and I think like the games, the conversations we've had, being backstage with everyone was incredible.
Nice food as well.
Nice food, and I hope people enjoyed the talks. I've listened to 6 or 7 of them, and I've been really impressed across the board. And they're 15-minute short impact speeches. I'm not sat there listening to someone with takeaways. With driveling for 30 minutes. You know, everyone's had great impact. And actually, I think people have kind of labelled this a PPC conference. I really don't think it was at all. It's been a wide range of everything for performance marketing. I managed to sneak a little bit of retention in there too for my retention people. Awesome event, and look, I'm excited for next year for sure.
It's interesting as well. There's speakers from Monzo, Refi, there's Size,
sportshoes.com. People have flown in all over the world from this. The main speaker here has flown in from Canada. Had an incredible chat with her. She's the headline speaker on at 5 o'clock. Really nice.
Gotta get finished up.
Yeah, I know. Really, really lovely girl. And she's got her own book, which she kindly gave me a copy of. So, yeah, really some awesome people here.
Props to Charlie. So the next person I have in the hot seat is Alan Pilkington of Athos Commerce. But you've got a decorated career in e-commerce, Alan. How are you doing today?
Hot. Very hot. I feel like a jacket potato.
Well, that's it. I brought you to the top floor. I mean, I said this to Ed before. It is the hottest place in Manchester today. But look, grateful to have you down. Tell me a little bit about Athos in a bit of a nutshell. What do you do? What do you try help? What brands are you helping?
Basically, Athos Commerce is on-site, off-site product discovery. So on-site is site search, merchandising, personalization, recommendations, product bundling, boosting. Everything you can think of. It's our way of helping people manipulate a website so people get to see what they want at all times. On the offsite piece for intelligent reach, it's data feed management, data syndication, with A/B experimentation built into it. So we're probably the only people in the market doing that. So again, to help people on their fleet management side of the business.
And we've got an official demo on Friday, don't we?
We do actually, yes, in 48 hours.
Yes, try and get that across the line. I know Ed's off camera somewhere, and he's the person we've got to schmooze.
I'll give him a few beers later.
Yeah, of course we will. Tell me a little bit about Performance MCR. You went last year.
Yes.
And this is the second year iteration. You know Charlie quite well. What do you like about this event? What would you recommend to somebody?
I think it's a great event. Like, year one, she smashed out of the park, did a great job, super stressed, lots of things, little hiccups here and there, which is the same as year one at any event. This year, I've said to her already, 2.0, come out of the traps on fire. It's been a great event, lots of incredible people in the room. Why wouldn't you want to be here? It's obviously in the north, for the north, by the north. So it's a great opportunity to actually see how the other half live outside of London. It's
starting to show the Manchester ecom community is really thriving.
Massive.
It's something that we're really loving. Obviously, you run your own event, don't you, in Digital Clubhouse, which I am at tomorrow. Talk today. What have you enjoyed? Any takeaways that you've got?
I thought the frank conversation with Chris from Jude Lux, I thought that was brilliant. It's very refreshing. The fact that the metrics can change at different parts of the funnel as well when it comes to performance marketing. He's just open. He doesn't really care. He just tells the truth, as opposed to everyone going after the same metrics. I think they're really nailing it at the moment and working with some very strong brands, which I'm not allowed a privilege to mention, but they've got a very good roster, let's say.
Yeah. Are you getting into them as well?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
nice.
Of course.
Final question for you. Predictions for e-commerce 2026 going into 2027. What do you think is going to be happening?
It's very hard to say. Like, obviously AI is a big buzzword, right? But it's forever changing, and I just feel that if we keep accelerating that direction, it can get a bit messy, cause a lot of hiccups along the way. I think this year has been great so far in regards to Q1 came out of the traps, people are a lot busy, lots of wins, lots of acquisitions. Yeah. I think 2027 you're going to see a lot of mergers, a few people dropping off the scale, but I think mergers and acquisitions is the big play for agencies like yourself at Prospa that are looking to grow in 2027. So keep your eyes peeled, because I feel that acquisition is going to be the big player, and mergers are a big player for 2027.
Alan, thank you very much.
No worries.
I'll see you for a beer later on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I sit here with Chris Garbutt from Salesfire, our partnerships manager. Chris, tell me a little bit about yourself, Salesfire.
Thanks for having me on. Name's Chris. Work in the partnerships team at Salesfire. You could probably categorise us as like a CRO company, but been going 10 years and started off as like a simple overlays provider. But we've sort of developed into a data-first company now, really. So we help e-commerce retailers understand more about the traffic, going through their website, what their intent is, how they're behaving across multiple devices, multiple sessions, building a profile that's really important to know about that shopper, and then we can fuel and pump that into our suite of solutions to help them convert more of that traffic into sales.
We're starting to see the benefit. There's a client of ours that we've been working through about a year now. They're called Vanquish Fitness. In terms of our ICP, it's right where we want to be. Fantastic fashion, sportswear, streetwear crossover brand that kind of touches on the bodybuilding side as well. We've just kind of running at the moment trials with the AI Connect part of Salesfire. You guys are really excited about this. Why and what is it?
Yeah, so one of the solutions that we do provide is email and SMS. But we obviously understand that agencies, retailers use Klaviyo. Klaviyo is really powerful and it's good at what it does. So we developed AI Connect, which works alongside Klaviyo and integrates with Klaviyo, but essentially using the data that we've got on these anonymous visitors to the site, we basically integrate with existing cart and browse abandonment flows and just give it that boost and enrichment and nudge that Klaviyo would miss. We can say, hey, we know who this guy is, or we know who this person is on site. You've missed this one. Send an email. So it just basically plugs on and sits alongside it and just boosts the existing flows.
That's it. We're really excited to see what happens with Vanquish Fitness. There's a few other brands I know I mentioned to you earlier that we're going to kind of roll out with you guys. Yeah. And I know Meg, our head of CRM, is really excited about it.
Good.
This is your first time at Performance MCR.
It is, yeah.
What do you think? What would you take away from it?
Really surprised at how good it is, actually. Yeah. I thought it was going to be. I've sort of only been in the industry for a short period of time, so it's all enlightening to me. Really, I'm sort of soaking it all in. But it's been really, really useful for me. Yeah. I've had a good chat with some retailers and agencies like yourselves. Thought Ed's talk was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Came across really well, and to be fair, most of the talks have been. It's quite cool, as in like the vibe, not the temperature.
Not the temperature, Jesus Christ.
And just everyone's really friendly. So it's well worth a visit. I'm really, really glad I came.
Final question. I appreciate you're relatively new to e-commerce, but is there anything that you think you can kind of maybe see is going to happen in 2026, or at least maybe something on the horizon that's exciting for Salesfire? Yeah,
I mean, from a Salesfire perspective, we're constantly evolving. So we've just launched V3 of our on-site search, which is absolutely brilliant. Lightning quick. highly customizable, super personalized. With regards to e-com, sort of finding it quite interesting, the sort of relationship between traffic that comes to site. We're all about converting that traffic, but for understandable reasons, retailers spend a lot of time and effort driving traffic to site. And I'm hearing a lot of conversations about like the relationship between driving traffic to site and then actually nurturing it and converting it when it's there, and how that can like be linked better.
I think with AI, the way it's coming through, I know it's, again, Alan mentioned this before, but it is a buzzword.
Yeah.
But the strength at which and the speed at which you're able to do that and improve that relationship, that's going to be really exciting, I think.
Yeah, I mean, industry standards, like for every £80 that's spent on driving traffic to a site, only £1 is spent on converting it. And I think that's starting to like go the other way now, and that's starting to balance out. So it'll be interesting to see how that is over the coming sort of months and years. Like, every day's a learning day for me.
Then we've got the Salesfire Summit later in the year. What date's that?
Yeah, September 8th at the Belfry. So this is the 4th year we've done the summit. Growing every year. Basically loads of retailers under one roof with partner agencies like yourselves who are coming along. And it's just a really insightful day, collaborative day, a chance for people from the industry to sort of get together, very, very similar to today, and just have some good conversations and strike up some good relationships.
That's it. I think what I can probably sense from Salesfire Summit and something like today is there's a lot of learning to be had and a lot of takeaways to be had, and it does feel very collaborative, like you said. But Chris, thanks. I'm sure we'll have a bit of a beer later on, and we'll speak soon.
Legend.
Cheers. Thank you, mate. Sat with our co-founder, Jack Smith. We're sat on the 4th floor. I've gone through this so many times. We're sat on the 4th floor. It's the hottest place. You chose this location.
I know I did. I sweat in winter as well.
This is our first time being at Performance MCR, but also as official media partner. What do you think this partnership means?
I think it's amazing for us, because I think we've been slowly doing more and more content as an agency, and to now sort of be on this side of everything is amazing. Obviously, we brought Ollie into the business, the other Ollie, a couple of weeks ago, and that gives us such it's like another layer of capabilities around video production, and never thought we'd go into this side of things, but it felt like the natural thing. And for us, events is something we've spoke about being more involved in a while. Obviously, we did the dinner last week, which went down really well. We're going to be doing so many more of them over the next, just indefinitely. We're going to try in for sort of one every sort of 2 months, I think, alternate between Manchester and London. So, but I think it's been such a successful day as well. I think Ed's talk was amazing, and for us, where we are in the industry and the brands we're working with, it feels like the natural sort of time for us to start doing stuff like that.
And look, it kind of came out. I know I'd reached out to Charlie initially, and she proposed being the official media partner. She's seen our content, a lot of the short form stuff, a lot of the paid ads we've done, the newsletter, the podcast, and she said, look, it makes sense for you guys to be this media partner. Why do you think we're succeeding in the organic capacity at the moment?
I think obviously we've done it for so long now, and I do remember the first pod it wasn't even a pod, but we did an episode probably 3 years ago.
You went in Strawberry Studio?
Yeah, and I mean, looking back,
but for context, this is one of the smallest studios that I think we've ever seen in my life. But Dire Straits.
It was the Smiths. The Smiths did their first recording in there, which was pretty cool. But
that is cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I think we've sort of been doing this type of organic content for a while, and I think we spoke about doing the pod for a while. We said that on the first sort of episode that we did. We've just been trying to document, show what we do, and just reflect the work that we're doing with brands, and I think that's been the driver really in all of our growth. I think it's something we speak about a lot. We've just been speaking about before we're doing this. We want to be doing more content. The goal is to just churn out more sort of raw, authentic content of what we're doing as an agency. Every week we're doing such amazing stuff, whether it's in one individual team or stuff like this, and that's why we brought Ollie in, who's been fantastic. Joel's here as well, our other videographer. It made sense because we've got the capabilities to do it now, and it's what we're doing ourselves, so it went hand in hand really.
You're overseeing all the marketing function, the engine that we're running here at Prospa. Obviously this is just one small part of it. What can people expect to see from the marketing ecosystem that is Prospa?
Just think again more sort of behind the scenes stuff. Obviously we've launched the Growth Files, which really is a sort of podcast but educational channel. We're going to be doing episodes internally, but also with brands that we're working with, brands we're not working with, tech partners, but also educational content. Ed's going to be doing a lot around processes and systems that we've built ourselves that we're using with brands that we're working with. So I think that's one side, and then I think it's going to be a big push for us to do a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Why do you think that helps?
I think it's to build the brand of Prospa. There's so much going on now, and I think we probably forget how much is going on and how many moving parts there are within the business now. But I think the purpose of that really is to build the brand of Prospa and also the Growth Files as well.
And people buy from people. Ultimately, we're trying to grow this agency, get more fantastic brands on, the ones that we want to work with. That's probably helping that personal element, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think we've got so many personalities that we want to get across within the agency, brand or agency, any type of business now, I think benefit from having a behind the scenes aspect to it. People seeing actually what's going on, not just the front end, not just the client case studies
the rough behind,
the real side. And I think, again, Ollie's been brought in and he's been fantastic. He's been with us for 2 weeks, but already just documenting everything. And we can then sort of go through that and pick, what the right content is. But so I think there's I've gone off the tangent a bit, but I think there's going to be the Prospa organic stuff, which is focusing heavily on brands that work with work that we're doing with them. You've got the growth files, which is a really exciting project for us, and then I think behind the agency will be sort of that third sort of secondary channel, but it's something that we're excited to start creating on.
Me too. I think obviously there's going to be some exciting guests coming on this podcast in the next few weeks. We're in Amsterdam
really
a couple of weeks ago, filming with Ollie Greenbridge. Fantastic episode with 8 hours. We're then speaking to some really exciting brands. One's under NDA at the moment, but I promise you we'll announce as soon as they confirm. Bye Babes, Cozy Crew Club, a few exciting brands like there. We just filmed with StoreHero, Karl. Some exciting things to come. Jack, thank you very much. Go and cool down somewhere, maybe get us a couple of beers.
Floor one. On the Amstels. Cheers.
Sweet. Cheers, mate. Again, the hottest place in Manchester, but at least we're the Cold Pint of Amstel, courtesy of the company expense card, which is really good. A very close partner of ours is sat next to me. This is StoreHero. Karl, how you doing?
Doing really well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Warm?
Yeah, very warm, very warm. There's a pond outside. I was looking at it through the window. I was like, that looks very tempting to kind of jump in. It might be a bit of a weird return to the conference if I was to do that, but
I don't know if they'll let you back in. Karl, obviously I mentioned and prefaced this with the fact that you're a big partner of ours. Tell everybody, those that are listening who don't know about StoreHero, what it is you do, why you started in the first place.
Sure. I suppose it really came out of my own experience running a digital marketing agency. I kind of had to try to understand, okay, if we're going to be a good steward of the investment that businesses make in their advertising, we need to understand the unit economics behind it. How much can I afford to spend? What is a customer worth to me? And it meant a lot of manual work. And my co-founder Thomas I was actually in tandem doing a lot of that same exercise in his family business. And ultimately, we kind of realized that a lot of e-commerce is very much driven by revenue-based metrics, which is fine maybe a couple of years ago where you had a sense your ads were working, you didn't know exactly how much profit, but there was something there. So really StoreHero was born out of that challenge to give e-commerce brands and agencies visibility on their profit that they're making sure the decisions that they're taking on a daily basis are leading to profit over time. So traditionally that was by way of a dashboard to kind of get that better vantage point and see that day to day rather than waiting for your accountant. But now it's through our Claude or ChatGPT connector, where ultimately that acts as like a profit brain. So if you're a brand or you're a client working with the likes of Prospa, you have the advantage of the fact that all that data and analysis is just going to be so much more comprehensive, and you're getting that kind of bigger picture of what's happening in your store.
It's interesting. I remember, it's getting on towards 2 years ago. It must be 2 years now. And I remember I remember being in the room, and it was when we had a smaller office, and I was in the room and Jack had just had the demo from you guys. Came off the call and said, yeah, we need this, right? And that was at the dashboard stage, right? And there was, there was less features in the platform. I think it was pre-CAC payback, and when you had the LTV, the cohort analysis.
Sure.
There's been a kind of a theme in that hot seat today. People keep mentioning AI as a buzzword, and it is, and I'm kind of fed up of hearing it in marketing. But the Claude ChatGPT plugin, right? That felt kind of essential for you guys to have. How long did that take to kind of come around? What have you had to do in the background? Obviously, you must have lost a bit of hair over it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, to be honest, what we did was we realised where we sit in that kind of above everything. You've kind of a dashboard is just a delivery mechanism to take the underlying data we have and give it to somebody in a format that they understand. So naturally, any sort of dashboard tool that you're using, someone like me is making a kind of a calculated guess as to like how we should lay that data out to serve the most amount of people possible. Now, realistically, everyone looks at that data in different ways, and it was always a situation where, okay, well, realistically, in order for someone to avail of StoreHero, they actually need to understand the unit economics, which you guys have really taken that as a competitive advantage, and selfishly have been able to grow because you can empathize with e-com founders, which I think is fantastic, but it's work to do. So the intention of that Claude connector is that instead of as part of the kind of Monday morning meeting, you're kind of aggregating data across your individual channels, it's as if the StoreHero kind of profit brain, I suppose, has gone through everything between your sales, your marketing, your profit, your LTV. The American president will get this thing called a PDB, a Presidential Daily Brief, and it's like a summary of everything that's happened in the world.
I doubt the current one reads it, right?
Probably not. Yeah, I haven't used that analogy as much recently, but
I can imagine.
It's there, whether it's read or not.
But so it comes into his desk Monday morning, essentially.
And it gives us some, like, there's experts across each function of the government have put together, and I'm sure every government has it, where it's like, okay, this is everything that you need to know. You're in the best possible position position to make decisions. If you are just looking at a channel attributed ROAS number, you don't understand the impact of returns and your free shipping threshold, and the fact that Meta this week is maybe taking more credit for repeat customers versus new customers. So if you can actually have a central view that looks at everything, knows that, okay, we're actually, working off the same hymn sheet, I suppose, it's just a lot of clarity, number one. And then naturally with that clarity, you're a lot more confident to scale. And that's the one thing I would see with some of the biggest brands in the world that either we've been fortunate enough to speak to, been in the orbit, or actually have sometimes used the platform. They don't have secret sauce. They develop competitive advantage over time. They push their margins up and their costs down. They really push to decrease their acquisition cost. But fundamentally, they're only in a position to do any of that because they actually understand what those numbers are in the first place.
Like I said, when Jack got off that call and he said, yeah, we're getting this, right? It's because we know that we needed that data. We didn't know how to bring it all into one place. You guys have done that fantastically for us. And look, you guys can now boast of some fantastic logos, right? Like, I don't know if I can mention Pangaea.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So we've across probably about 15 countries now and about 1,000 different brands. So that's anywhere ranging from stores starting at 500k a year up to like 80 million. So fortunately for us, but I suppose it's more of a symptom of the industry. Yeah. Everyone deals with these realities because whatever the dynamics within your business, everyone is held to account on a P&L that looks basically the same across the board. There's certain kind of metrics that everything comes back to kind of validate, okay, is the business we're spending our blood, sweat and tears on growing? Does it actually have something to show for itself? It's sometimes not perceived as the new shiny thing. But it's always great when we speak to like even agency founders empathize with the nature of growing a business, and obviously brand founders always love it because it's kind of cutting through the noise a lot, and it's feeling like, okay, we're addressing the elephant in the room. I knew this, like there was a disconnect here, but there was no language to kind of understand it.
I think that's what's the biggest thing for us. It's been able to collate all that information and pull it all together, and then also provide our clients with something that they can access as well. And that pure transparency, we use you guys in our pitches, right? And that helps us kind of win pitches because that aggressive transparency really helps us. But then the clients, they're offered the same value, and all the data's kind of there. One crazy thing for us, or amazing thing for us, I should say, is the fact that and Ed's kind of topic of the talk today was channel diversification.
Sure.
Being able to use your platform. Other talks today, I'm sure you listened to a bit of Ed's, but who else have you been impressed by? Anything you'd like to see a bit more of next year?
Yeah, one thing that I think is great about this conference, specifically for Performance MCR, is the fact, this might sound quite obvious, but the fact it's performance focused puts everything in the context of such an important part of the conversation. Yeah. And I think oftentimes any sort of broader conference, there's going to naturally be more people who look at generalist marketing or look at generalist e-com or content. If you're trying to serve that audience, if that audience is 70% of the room, the talks are going to be aligned with that. Yeah. And there's a lot of value in that, but also I think there's so much more fluff. Yeah. And I would say if there's anything that StoreHero isn't, it's fluff. Like we're forced to kind of tie back to the realities of the business. You need brand, you need community, you need to use those, but it's in service of allowing you to acquire a customer at a good rate. Yeah. So always love to see that. One piece that I've seen across some of the talks which has been interesting is people who would probably traditionally be in like a performance marketing seat are saying things like, yeah, well actually we need to be able to communicate with the executive level team, our board, because ultimately we can't exist in a vacuum. I think that's so important because I think that actually might have been something that has been brewing for a couple of years, but the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit. Yeah. Funding, availability of capital, all the kind of broader economic environment means that businesses are kind of forced to account and understand the realities of their business maybe a bit tighter. The impact that has on people in this room is naturally they need to tie that back to reality. So again, that's our bread and butter, so it's always good to hear that when it does pop up. I've actually found a slightly different, a different take on it in terms of the AI side. In terms of the actual talks, I actually haven't heard much around like how people are using Claude with workflows and stuff like that. And ultimately, if you are working with an agency, you want them to be implementing these tools, to be spending the time on strategic,
in the workflows
bringing things up a level, because you don't want to just pay for another pair of hands. You want to pay for somebody who's able to actually elevate your business and whatever that is. So I would say that's it's always the nature of the beast. The first movers, Prospa included, are going to take advantage of that, I suppose. But it's something I'd obviously be conscious of mentioning for either performance marketers or brands, whether it's yourself. Like for example, we had a call with a brand there, and they were setting up a Claude workflow using the StoreHero connector, and the whole point there is, in that particular case, they were doing their own creatives, and their agency was doing the implementation. So they set up a recurring report that every Monday they're like, the biggest variable here is if I can actually serve and deliver good quality content to my agency to put to use. So it kind of analysed all their ad creatives, what hooks are getting a bit fatigued, what ads that were introduced are working and not working, and it just kind of removes the blockers. Yeah. So one piece that I would recommend for people to kind of tie back to that conversation is ask Claude, like based on my calendar, my Gmail, my Slack conversations, what are the biggest bottlenecks in my business? Yeah. It understands all those pieces, and if you can kind of get it out of the way. It can make you feel a bit stupid doing that as well sometimes. 100%, and I think that's the thing. It's like, and to be honest, that's probably been a theme of the StoreHero story over time, is that sometimes you're kind of having to rip the band-aid off a little bit. It's actually a bit of a misconception as well, because people often think we're going to be like an accountant who's cut back your costs, all this kind of stuff. It's a defensive maneuver, but oftentimes, and you guys see this as well, we're able to show people, well actually this product, if you use that as a new customer offer, you can afford to spend more to acquire the customer, because they come back more quickly, and also they generate more profit. So it's these kind of, if you don't have those levers in front of you, the only lever seems to be, okay, I need a higher ROAS to basically fix all my problems, which people can see. It's tough. It's tough. I touched on that in that talk. Look, Karl, we've only got a minute or so left. Biggest prediction for maybe e-commerce 2026, 2027, without mentioning AI, can you do that? That's going to be very tough. I'm actually going to, on one hand I could say Rob, and on another hand I could say double down on Ed's really valuable point around community-driven UGC.
Yes.
So
fantastic.
As kind of an opposite to that AI side, I think what people are missing is the AI creatives they're doing. They're trying to focus on the most difficult thing, which is UGC, which everyone has that, I think they call it the uncanny valley, that slice off piece when you see an AI video. If you're trying to automate the most authentic part of your kind of creatives, it's just not practically the best place to start. It's like, okay, well I should automate and use AI for the things that I can, because it's more efficient, and that should give you more time ideally to free up to focus on that more organic stuff as well. So it's a different shape. It will be kind of, it's all the same kind of themes and trends, but I think it's got to go into overdrive as there's just more glut. Everyone's the average has risen, but that's, if the average has risen, you still need to do more to exceed that and stand out versus that other brand.
But that's it. I think the trust element of consumer UGC is going to be the biggest driver, as Ed kind of touched on today. But and the ultimate trust, like I said, our brand Sicily, who relies on 3 months use in order to use it, is a fantastic example of that. Karl, I'm going to have to cut you off. Thanks for coming. We'll obviously get out for a beer later on. And
100%.
Yeah, thanks again.
No
Cheers. I'm back with Ellie McGuigan. Ellie McGuigan is Senior Paid Social at Cancer Research. Ellie, how you doing?
Yeah, that's right. Great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, warm. We brought you up to the top floor. I've mentioned this to everybody who sat down. This is the hottest place in Manchester, I think, today.
Yeah, it is. I believe it.
You spoke today. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
How did you find that? What did you speak about?
Yeah, I found it really good. I spoke about creative diversification and how we are basically handling it at Cancer Research UK. Yeah. So, yeah, it went well.
In your role, paid social, diversification, what does that look like? What are you doing at the moment? What's working, what's not?
So we are testing. We have kind of worked with Meta on kind of what diversification actually is, because I think initially it was quite ambiguous for us at least, and I've kind of come up with this kind of scoring matrix which I ran through in the talk, and that essentially is a tool that CR UK now use to think about creative diversification. So it's not just different messages, but it's formats, placements and creative approach as well, so those kind of 4 elements. And then from that matrix we've got different tiers that you kind of get an overall score from the matrix, and then there's tiers. So you've got bronze, silver and gold, and then that tells you how diversified you are. So we've got like a framework that we kind of use, and we're currently like testing against those different
and then
tiers.
Iterating on the matrix.
And then iterating if depending on kind of results and stuff. So we're in the journey of it right now, which is exciting.
Is that your brainchild then, the matrix?
Yes.
It is. Are you proud of it then?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Cool. So creative diversification is one element. I know Ed, our CMO, touched on it today in
Yeah.
terms of channel diversification.
Yes.
What are you guys
Yeah.
doing in paid social to diversify?
Historically, we've been really kind of focused on Meta, and I think probably a lot of advertisers are. But we're looking to new platforms now, like Snapchat. So we've been kind of doing takeovers on there quite recently for Stand Up to Cancer, which is one of our campaigns, and some sub-brands, and Race for Life as well, which again is one of our kind of flagship campaigns. We've seen really good success from that. I think takeovers is like more of an awareness objective on the platform, but we've actually seen great success with kind of driving conversions, donations, etc.
We are back with Robyn Muckle.
That's correct.
Robyn, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, very hot as well, but sun is shining in Manchester, we can't complain.
No, you
too
can't.
much.
So you guys have got a stand just down here, right?
We have, we're in the floor below, slightly cooler down there. So I'm joined by my colleague Nick, Pat, and also Maureen today. So there's a little team of us.
For those who are listening, this is Robyn she's the partnerships manager at
That's correct.
ProfitMetrics, right? For those people that don't know about server-side tracking and kind of dashboards and feeding information back into ad campaigns, what is ProfitMetrics? What are you guys trying to do? Who are you trying to help?
ProfitMetrics, we are essentially a tool that enables you as an e-commerce brand owner or digital marketing expert to understand your profitability, so have full visibility on every single order. But the really key thing about that is making sure that data is in Google Ads and Meta, so you can optimize to profit over revenue. The ad platforms notoriously have been triggered to just focus on return on ad spend, but that's not really the actual return you're getting. So what we do is lift the lid on what the profit is per order, taking into account discounts, cost of goods, payment fees, shipping fees, packaging and handling. Once we've got that gross profit number in our platform, we push it to Google Ads and Meta, where it's divided by ad spend to give you profit on ad spend. So rather than ROAS. POAS is the term we use.
Which sounds so much cooler than ROAS. And then, who is, the ideal brand comes along? Obviously, we work with a lot of different fashion e-commerce brands, 10, 20, 30 million pounds annual revenue, spending on Meta, Google, TikTok, Snapchat. What's your perfect client like? Is it any of ours?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, it needs to be a client that has multiple products. Yeah. Varied margin in those products, right? It's very, very easy to calculate gross profit or profitability if you're just selling a few items at very similar profit margin. So the more complexity and variance you have, the better. Absolutely key for fashion, pet brands, anything again which has got that varied category is really, really great for us. And it's really for businesses as well that are hitting those numbers for revenue and ROAS, but actually they're just not seeing that sustainable growth or return within their business as well. So the real pain point of, one, do you want that profit visibility, but two, do you need to start optimising to sustainable growth?
In your role, partnerships manager, you're on the road a bit, you're out at places like this today.
Yep.
Is this your first Performance MCR?
It's my first one with my ProfitMetrics hat on.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you were here last year, but under a different company?
Yeah, under a different company,
What have you enjoyed so much about today? Any talks that you should know? Have you been kind of schmoozing down here?
I've been more on the schmoozing side today rather than attending the talks, but do you know what it is? Manchester is just such a friendly community, and I know people are visiting from outside Manchester as well. I was really fortunate to attend Brighton SEO recently as well, but there's a lot of people here who've made the trip and the effort to come up here, but I've got to say, just everybody here is just open for a discussion and a conversation, and with POAS and profit being sort of the focal point at the moment in the industry and in the community, I think we're in the right place. So Charlie's done an amazing job, and her team
she really has.
Shout enough kudos to them for what they've brought to Manchester. It's absolutely amazing.
You're right. I mean, POAS was a big theme. Ed, in our speaker, and I keep plugging him today, but it was a fantastic speech he gave. That focus on profit is something that I think maybe Prospa, we've been talking about this for about 18 months, but it's starting to be spoken about a lot more. That's helping you probably make a few more agency partnerships, right? And these agencies that need that extra visibility, that's where you come in.
Absolutely. So what is the problem at the moment is, agencies work with their e-com clients. Often there's a breakdown, they set a revenue target, a ROAS target, but there's not that understanding and that translation underneath why is it that target. They don't have access to profit. Often it's too late. So they optimize for a campaign, everything looks great on paper, revenue is booming, but actually underneath it all, they're actually making a loss. And that's really, again, what we're trying to help solve. So give the agencies the data and the understanding, the visibility of what's happening, and also just how profitable they are, what they need to dial up, what they need to dial down, but also allowing the algorithms to optimise to that growth as well.
Yeah, that's a secret, I think. Robyn, where can people find you? LinkedIn, Robyn Muckle or Muckle?
I say Mrs. Muckle, I like. Robyn Muckle on LinkedIn, or Robyn at ProfitMetrics.io is my email address as well if you want to contact me. Yeah.
Well, look, thanks for joining me for albeit the hottest place in Manchester.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll grab a beer later on.
Yeah, well, it's been lovely speaking to you, and I'll take that beer as well. Thank you.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers, Robyn.